After everything this month has asked you to feel, something inside you is finally beginning to lift again. Not because your journey is over, because your perspective is changing. And sometimes, one new perspective is powerful enough to change an entire future. Because this rare blue moon in Sagittarius does not arrive to keep you emotionally trapped in the past. It arrives to remind you how much life still exists ahead of you. New experiences, new possibilities, new versions of yourself waiting beyond the emotional weight you've been carrying. You may already feel it now, a growing desire for freedom, for movement, for meaning, for something larger than the limitations your mind once believed in. That's the Sagittarius full moon awakening. And after weeks of emotional clearing, pressure, truth, and transformation, this energy finally asks a different question. What kind of future are you ready to grow into now? Because maybe this month was never trying to break you. Maybe it was expanding you beyond the version of yourself that could no longer carry your next chapter. Something about your energy may feel different now. Not rushed, not emotionally heavy in the same way as before. Wider. Like your awareness is finally beginning to look beyond survival mode again. That's what this Sagittarius full moon brings forward. Expansion. Not only externally, internally. Because after everything this month has asked you to process emotionally, your perspective has changed. And once perspective changes, life begins changing with it. You may notice today that your thoughts naturally drift toward the future more now, toward possibility, toward movement, toward experiences your soul still wants to have. That matters deeply, because Sagittarius energy does not want you trapped emotionally inside old chapters forever. It wants growth, meaning, discovery. The understanding that life is still unfolding beyond what you currently see. And maybe that's exactly what your spirit is beginning to remember now. That there is still more ahead of you. More joy, more alignment, more freedom, more experiences capable of changing your life beautifully. You may even feel a stronger desire now to reconnect with inspiration itself, to think bigger again, to dream again, to trust that your future can become larger than the limitations you once emotionally identified with. That shift is powerful, because many people become so focused on surviving emotionally that they slowly stop imagining new possibilities altogether. But this full moon reopens the horizon. It reminds the nervous system that life is not only about enduring difficulty, it's also about expansion, about becoming, about allowing yourself to evolve into new environments, new beliefs, new levels of emotional freedom. And after the emotional clearing of recent weeks, this energy can feel like a deep breath returning. Not because every answer has arrived yet, because hope is returning. Real hope. The kind rooted in wisdom now instead of fantasy. You may also notice today that certain fears feel smaller than they once did. Not because your journey was easy, because you became stronger through it, more aware, more intentional, more connected to what genuinely matters to your spirit moving forward. That awareness creates a completely different future. Because once consciousness expands, you stop building your life from the same emotional limitations as before. And maybe that's what this blue moon is truly trying to show you now. You are no longer the version of yourself that began this month. Your vision has expanded. Your standards have evolved. Your spirit has grown beyond certain emotional confines that once felt permanent. That transformation matters. So today, allow yourself to look forward again, not with pressure, with openness, because this Sagittarius full moon is not asking you to stay focused on what fell apart behind you. It's asking you to notice how much possibility is beginning to open in front of you now. Something inside you may feel more alive now, not because every challenge has suddenly disappeared, because your spirit is beginning to reconnect with possibility again. And after emotionally intense seasons, that reconnection changes everything. You may notice today that your mind naturally drifts toward the future more often, toward places you want to experience, toward dreams you once pushed aside, toward versions of yourself that suddenly feel possible again. That's the Sagittarius full moon working through your awareness. It expands the horizon emotionally. It reminds you that life is meant to keep moving, keep evolving, keep opening into new chapters that your past self could not fully imagine yet. And maybe that's why this energy feels so different from the heaviness earlier this month. Because now, your soul is no longer focused only on surviving. It's beginning to focus on becoming more aligned, more open, more connected to experiences that genuinely inspire your spirit. That shift is deeply important because many people become trapped inside emotional limitation without realizing it, not because life stops offering possibilities, because pain slowly narrows their vision. But Sagittarius energy widens vision again. It lifts awareness upward. It reminds the nervous system that life still contains wonder, movement, discovery, and expansion. And maybe that reminder is exactly what your spirit needed now, especially after everything you've moved through emotionally this month. You may even realize today that certain fears no longer feel as powerful as they once did, not because they were imaginary, because your consciousness has grown larger than them. That's what spiritual expansion often feels like. Not becoming fearless overnight, becoming more connected to possibility than limitation, more connected to purpose than emotional stagnation, more willing to trust that your future can unfold differently from your past. And once that trust begins strengthening, new energy starts entering your life naturally. New ideas, new opportunities, new momentum, new levels of clarity about what your soul genuinely wants moving forward. That's why this full moon feels so liberating emotionally, not because it erases your past, because it helps you stop building your identity around it. You begin understanding that your challenges were not the final definition of your life. They were preparation. Preparation for greater awareness, greater alignment, greater emotional wisdom. And maybe that wisdom is what's opening the next chapter now. You may also feel a stronger desire to follow what genuinely excites your spirit again, to learn more, to explore more, to say yes to life more fully. That's important because excitement is not distraction under Sagittarius energy. It's guidance, a sign that your spirit is beginning to move toward expansion again. So today, allow yourself to imagine bigger possibilities. Allow yourself to believe that life can still surprise you beautifully because this blue moon is not only revealing how much you've changed, it's revealing how much more life is still waiting to open for you from here. One of the most beautiful things about this Sagittarius full moon is how strongly it reminds you that your life is allowed to expand beyond old emotional limits. Not someday far away, now. Because growth reaches a point where the soul can no longer comfortably fit inside outdated versions of itself. Outdated fears, outdated expectations, outdated stories about what you believed was possible for your future. And maybe that's what this full moon is helping you release now, not through force, through realization. The realization that your spirit has already evolved beyond certain limitations you once thought would define you forever. You may notice today that your inner dialogue feels different now, less focused on survival, less emotionally attached to old disappointments, more open to asking, what if life could become better than I expected? That question alone can shift your entire energy, because Sagittarius energy thrives through openness, not rigid certainty. Openness to growth, openness to opportunity, openness to discovering that the universe may still have experiences waiting for you that your current perspective cannot fully see yet. And maybe that's why this full moon feels so emotionally liberating. It reminds your nervous system that life is not over simply because certain chapters were painful. New chapters still exist. New paths still exist. New forms of happiness, connection, purpose, and freedom still exist beyond what you've already experienced before. That awareness begins changing your vibration naturally, because energy shifts the moment consciousness stops identifying only with limitation. You may even feel more willing now to trust your future again, not blindly, wisely, from experience, from growth, from the understanding that everything this month revealed was ultimately guiding you toward greater alignment, even the difficult moments, especially the difficult moments. Because pressure created clarity, loneliness created self-respect, emotional endings created space for more authentic beginnings to eventually enter. And now, this Sagittarius full moon begins turning your awareness toward expansion again, toward the road ahead, toward the bigger life your spirit has quietly been preparing for. You may also notice today that inspiration returns more easily now. Small moments of excitement, unexpected ideas, a stronger desire to create, explore, travel, connect, or move forward differently. Pay attention to those feelings, because inspiration is often how the soul communicates alignment. And under Sagittarius energy, alignment expands quickly once you stop emotionally shrinking yourself to fit the past. So today, allow yourself to think beyond old limitations. Allow yourself to reconnect with the part of your spirit that still believes beautiful things are possible. Because this full moon is not trying to pull your awareness backward. It's trying to help you step fully into the larger future that has been waiting for your consciousness to finally catch up with it. Something profound may be shifting within you now, not only emotionally, energetically. Because after everything this month has revealed, cleared, and transformed, your spirit may finally be realizing that it was never meant to stay trapped inside survival mode forever. You were meant to grow beyond it. And maybe that's why this full moon feels so expansive internally. It's reconnecting you with the understanding that life can become more than endurance, more than emotional recovery, more than constantly carrying the weight of the past. Life can also become joy, exploration, inspiration, connection, movement, creativity, purpose. That realization raises your energy naturally because consciousness expands the moment it stops identifying solely with pain, not denying what happened, outgrowing the belief that struggle is the only vibration your future can hold. You may notice today that your desires feel different now, not driven purely by fear or protection, driven by alignment. You begin craving experiences that nourish your spirit instead of depleting it, conversations that inspire you, environments that energize you, goals that genuinely excite your soul. That shift matters deeply because what you consistently move towards emotionally becomes the frequency your future begins organizing around. And Sagittarius energy wants your focus pointed toward expansion, toward possibility, toward the understanding
that your life force grows stronger when your attention feeds hope, purpose, and movement instead of remaining emotionally anchored inside old heaviness forever. You may even realize today that some of the most difficult experiences this month were teaching you where your energy truly belongs, not in fear, not in emotional survival, not in constantly shrinking yourself to fit environments your spirit has already outgrown, but in growth, in truth, in freedom, in becoming more fully connected to the life your soul actually wants to experience now. And once that awareness strengthens, your entire vibration begins shifting. You think differently, you choose differently, you attract differently. Not through force, through resonance. Because the energy you embody consistently, quietly shapes the opportunities, relationships, and experiences that begin aligning with you over time. That's why this full moon feels less of an ending emotionally and more like emergence, the emergence of a more expanded version of yourself, one who no longer believes their future must remain limited by what they've already survived, one who is finally ready to let excitement, curiosity, and purpose guide life forward again. You may also feel a growing desire now to trust yourself more deeply, to follow inspiration when it appears, to say yes to opportunities that create expansion, to stop postponing joy until everything becomes perfect first. That's important because higher alignment rarely arrives through fear. It arrives through openness, through willingness, through the courage to emotionally invest in possibility again. So today, focus your energy gently toward what uplifts your spirit, toward what creates peace, inspiration, and movement inside you. Because this Sagittarius full moon is not only helping you release old energy, it's helping you remember how powerful your life becomes when your focus finally returns to what you genuinely want to grow.
There comes a moment during every major transformation where the soul quietly realizes, I am no longer the person who first entered this journey. And maybe that realization is arriving for you now. Not dramatically, but clearly. Because this Sagittarius full moon is illuminating how much you've already grown, how much wisdom you've gained, how much emotional weight you've released, how much stronger your spirit has become through everything you've navigated this month. That growth matters, even if it happens slowly, even if part of you is only beginning to recognize it now. You may notice today that your energy feels more future-oriented, less emotionally trapped inside old chapters, more interested in what can still be created from here. That shift is incredibly powerful because your future begins expanding the moment your consciousness becomes willing to imagine something greater again. And Sagittarius energy thrives through belief, not blind optimism, conscious belief. The kind rooted in inner knowing, the understanding that life is always capable of opening new pathways once awareness evolves enough to recognize them. That's why this full moon can feel so emotionally liberating. It reconnects you with momentum, with movement, with the realization that there are still experiences waiting for you that your current mind cannot fully predict yet. Beautiful experiences, unexpected opportunities, new relationships, new inspiration, new environments that reflect the person you are becoming now instead of the version of you who once lived entirely from survival. And maybe that's what your soul has been preparing for all along. Not just healing, expansion after healing, wisdom after struggle, alignment after emotional confusion. You may also feel today that your intuition is becoming louder now, not through fear, through excitement, through moments of inspiration that suddenly feel deeply alive inside you. Pay attention to those moments
because higher alignment often begins as resonance, a feeling, a quiet inner knowing that certain directions, people, or possibilities are energetically meant to move you forward now. And under this Sagittarius full moon, those intuitive openings can become incredibly powerful, especially if you trust yourself enough to follow what genuinely expands your spirit, not what keeps you emotionally confined. That distinction changes everything, because energy grows where focus consistently flows, and when your focus returns to growth, possibility, purpose, and vision, your vibration naturally begins rising with it. You think more openly, you move more confidently, and you begin attracting experiences that mirror your expanded state of consciousness. That's the deeper magic of this full moon, not temporary emotional escape, sustainable energetic elevation, the kind that changes how you experience life moving forward. So today, allow yourself to believe that your future can become brighter than your past. Allow yourself to trust that life is still unfolding in meaningful ways for you, because this blue moon is not only showing you how much you've already transformed, it's showing you how much more expansion is still waiting ahead from here.
This full moon is not only changing your perspective, it's changing your availability, your energetic availability for a different kind of life. Because after everything you've experienced this month, you are no longer resonating with the same emotional frequency as before. Certain environments feel smaller now. Certain fears feel less convincing. Certain patterns no longer fit the consciousness you've grown into. And that's a beautiful thing. Because growth is not only about releasing pain, it's about becoming available for more aligned experiences afterward, more aligned relationships, more aligned opportunities, more aligned ways of living that reflect the wisdom your soul has earned. You may notice today that your energy naturally wants expansion now, not chaos, expansion, the kind that creates more freedom internally, more trust in yourself, more openness toward life, more willingness to follow inspiration instead of constantly following fear. That shift changes your entire direction, because the future you create depends greatly on the emotional state you consistently build from. And maybe that's why this Sagittarius full moon feels so important spiritually. It reconnects you with higher possibility, not fantasy, possibility rooted in alignment. The understanding that once your awareness changes, your reality begins reorganizing around that expansion too. You may even realize today that some things needed to leave your life emotionally, so greater things could finally enter. Not as punishment, as preparation. Preparation for relationships that meet you more fully. Preparation for opportunities that reflect your growth more accurately. Preparation for a version of yourself that no longer needs to emotionally shrink just to feel accepted or safe. That realization creates liberation, because once the soul experiences expansion, it becomes difficult to willingly return to emotional confinement again. And maybe that's exactly what this blue moon is awakening within you now. A stronger relationship with your own potential, a stronger belief that life can still surprise you beautifully, a stronger willingness to trust the unfolding path ahead instead of remaining emotionally attached to who you used to be. You may also notice today that gratitude feels more accessible now. Not forced gratitude, real gratitude. The kind that appears when you finally recognize how much wisdom emerged from experiences that once only felt difficult. Because now you can see the transformation more clearly. You can see how your standards evolved, how your awareness deepened, how your spirit became more aligned with truth, purpose, and emotional authenticity.
That transformation was not accidental. It was preparation for expansion. And under this Sagittarius full moon, expansion accelerates the moment you consciously choose to move toward what nourishes your spirit instead of what diminishes it. So today, allow yourself to emotionally invest in possibility again. Allow yourself to trust that your future is still unfolding beautifully. Because this blue moon is not asking you to keep staring at old limitations. It's asking you to finally notice how wide open the horizon has quietly become in front of you now. As this blue moon reaches its peak, take a moment to recognize how far your spirit has actually traveled this month. Not only externally, internally. Because May did not leave you unchanged. It expanded you through pressure, through truth, through emotional clarity, through moments that forced your awareness to rise beyond old limitations. And now, you are standing at the edge of a completely different energetic chapter, one where your relationship with yourself is becoming stronger, one where your future is no longer being imagined through the same emotional lens as before. That matters deeply. Because once consciousness expands, life can never fully return to the exact same emotional frequency again. You begin seeing differently, choosing differently, believing differently. And under this Sagittarius full moon, those internal shifts begin creating entirely new pathways forward. You may notice now that your spirit feels more open to life again, more willing to trust timing, more willing to follow inspiration, more willing to believe that meaningful opportunities can still arrive unexpectedly. That openness is powerful because the universe responds strongly when energy moves from contraction to expansion. Not through force, through alignment. Through the moment you stop defining your future only through the memories of what once hurt you. And maybe that is the greatest transformation this month created within you. Not perfection, perspective. The realization that your life still contains unexplored beauty, unlived experiences, unmet connections, unseen possibilities that are waiting for your energy to become available for them. You may even feel now that your spirit wants to move forward with greater intention, to protect your peace more carefully, to follow what genuinely expands your energy, to build a life that feels emotionally aligned instead of emotionally exhausting. That desire is not random, it's wisdom becoming embodied. And once wisdom becomes embodied, your vibration changes naturally. You stop chasing what drains you. You stop investing energy into paths your soul has already outgrown. Instead, you begin moving toward clarity, freedom, purpose, creativity, connection, expansion. Not because life suddenly became easy, because your consciousness has become more aligned with what truly matters. That alignment will guide you powerfully moving into June, especially if you continue nurturing the energy this full moon is awakening within you now. Hope, vision, trust, openness to growth, openness to receiving, openness to believing that your future can become far more beautiful than your past ever suggested. So as this month comes to a close, release the need to carry old emotional heaviness into the next chapter. You do not need to enter June as the same version of yourself, because you aren't. Your awareness has expanded, your spirit has matured, your energy is becoming more aligned with the future your soul truly wants to experience. And maybe this blue moon arrived not only to illuminate the sky, but to illuminate how much potential still exists within you now. Potential for joy, potential for abundance, potential for meaningful connection, potential for a life that finally feels expansive enough for the person you are becoming. So breathe deeply here. The horizon is open, and your next chapter has already begun unfolding.